Broadcasting from our studio in Boston, Solutions Review is proud to showcase Infinidat in the Solution Spotlight, an inside look at enterprise technologies.
I'm Doug Atkinson here at Solutions Review, and welcome to the Solution Spotlight featuring Infinidat and focused on green IT, the secret to super savings in your data center. Efforts to be more environmentally focused have become critical to enterprises globally. One of the most powerful ways for enterprises to help the environment is to embrace green IT. Not only does green IT help the environment, but it is also a dynamic driver of data center CAPEX and OPEX savings. With the right enterprise storage solution, you can save watts, slots, floor space, and recycling costs, leading to significant cost savings that align with your corporate green initiatives. So today, we will shine our spotlight on how Infinidat helps enterprises reduce both OPEX and their carbon footprints while ensuring top-end application performance, guaranteed 100% availability, along with cyber storage resilience and recovery. And to walk you through the presentation today, I'm now going to hand it over to Eric Herzog, CMO of Infinidat.
Welcome, and thank you for joining. I'm Eric Herzog, CMO of Infinidat, and joining me today is Tim Dales, Product Marketing Manager, and also helping field questions will be Bill Basinius, Senior Director of Product Marketing. So our topic today is green IT. Now, one of the things people usually think is that, well, if I go green, it's going to cost me a lot of money. And the answer is it does not. So green IT not only helps the environment and reduces your carbon footprint. And for any of you that are in the global Fortune 1000, as you know, while that issue overall is more widely followed in Europe, if you are a US-centric company doing business in Europe in particular, you are subject to the rules and regulations of the EU and the various countries on trying to cut your carbon emissions. So even for US-centric companies, if you're doing business outside the US, green IT is clearly an issue. And you're going to save money. Tim is going to talk about very specifically savings in both capital and operational expenditures, as well as how you get a better, greener, more environmentally friendly data center. But let's do a quick overview of Infinidat and what we do. So Infinidat is focused on the high-end system business. In fact, 25% of the Fortune 50 are customers of Infinidat. We have three core products. The original InfiniBox that you see on the bottom left. This is a hybrid array. It is incredibly powerful due to the power of our software neural cache. Our hybrid array outperforms around 75% of the all-flash arrays in market. However, it doesn't always. So we came out with the InfiniBox SSA all-flash, still using neural cache. And in fact, we had a technical validation done by one of the leading storage industry analysts, ESG. And while we claim 35 microseconds of latency, ESG, which looked at 7 different Infinidat arrays from customers, not in our lab, from real customers. And as ESG pointed out, they saw latency of only 35 mics. As you know, latency is the critical performance metric for highly transactional workloads and databases. We also offer, in the bottom right, our InfiniGuard platform. It's a purpose-built appliance, and inside of every InfiniGuard actually is embedded an InfiniBox. However, we don't do any custom hardware. We have outstanding hardware designs, and we have patents on those designs as well. But the bulk of our over 100 patents is built around our InfuseOS operating system. Our neural cache, we talked about the secret to our incredible performance. Our enterprise class data servers is 3-site, 4-site replication, snapshots, both read, write, and immutable. Our InfiniOps technology and AIOps with our Infinimetrics and Infiniverse, leverage to automate support, leverage to automate what you do as a customer. And of course, our industry acclaimed InfiniSafe, cyber storage resilience and recovery. InfiniSafe has won over 18 awards since its introduction in early 2022. And we also now have our InfuseOS operating system as a cloud edition. That's right, it's a full version of InfuseOS sitting in the Amazon cloud. And stay tuned to what is going to happen on May 22nd. This means that an on-premise InfiniBox SSA will see the Infuse OS and think there is an InfiniBox sitting in Amazon, when in fact it is not. It behaves exactly the same way, so seamless hybrid cloud integration, no additional training, same user interface, same functions, Neural Cache, InfiniSafe, InfiniOps, all work when you're in the cloud. So true hybrid cloud technology. Now, as we go around the ring, let's talk about the high-level benefits that the CEO and the CIO would be most interested in. First of all, a dramatically lower total cost of ownership and rapid return on investment, which Tim is going to go over shortly. To help do that is our service-oriented automation and our set-it-and-forget-it IT operations. Several of our customers, whether it be through the Gartner Peer Insights, which are end-user reviews published by Gartner, or our own public references, you will see tons of customers talking about how they haven't touched their InfiniBox, their InfiniGuard, and the InfiniBox SSA for 2, 3, or 4 years. We also have broad-based consolidation. This helps us reduce the lower TCO and the incredible ROI. One of our customers in North America, Fortune 100, they have consolidated 450 floor tiles with a competitive all-flash array to 50 floor tiles with our all-flash array, running the exact same workloads and getting better performance. Now, think about it. 450 going to 50 floor tiles. Talk about saving on watts, on slots, on power, on floor space, on operational manpower, and of course, savings on CAPEX and OPEX. We wrap everything around our Infuse OS and our 3 platforms with a set of guarantees. On the InfiniBox, the InfiniBox SSA, we guarantee performance in writing. On the InfiniBox and the InfiniBox SSA, we also guarantee 100% availability. On all 3 platforms, we guarantee cyber resilience and recovery. We guarantee, first of all, that the immutable snapshot is indeed immutable. And as you know, the immutable snapshot separates the management plane and the data plane so that it helps you thwart cyber attacks. On the recovery side, we have unmatched guarantees on the recovery side. On the InfiniBox, the InfiniBox SSA, regardless of the size of the data set, we guarantee recovery in under 1 minute. Now you're saying, wait a second. I know one of the InfiniBoxes is up to 17 petabytes of capacity effective. That's true. But guess what? 1 minute or less. In fact, we demoed a couple months ago at one of our webinars live recovery of almost 200 terabytes on an InfiniBox in 4 seconds. I kid you not. On the InfiniGuard, that guarantee is 20 minutes or less. At the end of last year, we did a webinar and we recovered 20 petabytes. Yes, 20 petabytes, not 20 terabytes, 20 petabytes of a Veeam backup repository in 11 minutes and 55 seconds. But the InfiniGuard and the InfiniBox and all our products work with all the backup vendors. So in February of this year, we did the same demo, except we use a Commvault 20 petabyte, yes, 20 petabyte backup repository and recovered that in 13 minutes. So incredible guarantees. And of course, multi-petabyte scale. Of course, our end users point out, if you aren't running Infinidat in your data center, you are wasting money on storage. And now I'm going to turn it over to Tim Dales, who's going to go much deeper on how we save you on both economic value and deliver to you environmental value. Tim, you have the floor. Oh, we win tons of awards.
Thank you, Eric. I certainly appreciate it. Let's start this off, group, by giving a definition here. Let's start with what green IT is. It's the reduction of energy consumption and lowering of carbon emissions from the design, use, and disposal of technology products. So let's peel back the onion and tell you guys how we do this. First of all, we've discovered that customers want to buy from companies that are green and aligned with their own green initiatives. We're seeing this more and more in RFPs, sourcing agreements, and every vendor is responding appropriately. I think this little quote from ESG is setting the right direction in that 93% of IT decision makers expect their suppliers' ESG programs to have an impact on their organizational purchases. I think that's so true. Next slide, please, Eric. So what are we doing about it at Infinidat? Well, we have a philosophy to create sustainable storage arrays by design. All of our arrays use the latest in power efficient technologies and techniques. We constantly review our actual power consumption data in real time from our telemetry tools through our Infiniverse product. I took a snip and put it in the presentation here of the power consumption widget in Infiniverse. As you can see, there are a number of Infiniboxes showing their actual power consumption, and a pull down to show weekly, monthly, or last year. So we provided that pretty easy capability within the Infiniverse product to gather power consumption data so we can use that data, as well as our customers can keep an eye on the power consumption of their arrays. What we do with that historical data is input that into our design phase to help develop more power efficient arrays. Actually, during the design, we strike a balance between the performance and capacity needs of our customers and also their need to minimize floor space, power and cooling costs, and carbon footprint goals. We're constantly pulling on this equation, if you will, and saying, hey, if I want to add more capacity and performance for a customer, but I don't want to cause the need for extraordinary power consumption, how do I do that? So that's the kind of questions that we ask ourselves. And lastly, we've got a pretty strong history of consolidating other vendors' arrays into Infinidat power efficient arrays. So we not only deliver powerful CAPEX and OPEX savings, but we help customers with their green IT initiatives too. As Eric just mentioned, one of the customer examples, I have another customer example that I'll illustrate later on in this presentation. Next slide, please. So what else are we doing for green IT? Well, we formed a steering committee last year to review our operations, supply chain, and products to determine where we have gaps so that we can respond with a sustainability plan. From that, we went through a number of steps last year, mapping the gap analysis, doing a sustainability roadmap, and coming out with a report in which we've calculated our greenhouse gas emissions for Scope 1 and Scope 2 emissions using the greenhouse gas protocol. And next slide, please. Drum roll, this is our inaugural ESG report. That's all available in there, all that information and more detail on how we develop and create sustainable products. Yes, you may be wondering why this report says 2022 when here we are in 2024. The ESG report is always kind of a look back report of the past year. We've completed 2022 last year, and we'll update for 2023 about summertime of this year. And going forward, we will be on a similar cadence of producing this report for our customers and users. Next slide, please. We're seeing some environmental results already from the use of our products by customers. A couple of years ago, we announced an upgrade of the Infinibox, which provided 72% more capacity in the same footprint with a 42% reduction in power per effective petabyte. So that's showing that we're trying to move that design balance that I mentioned between more capacity and reduction in power in order to offer that capacity increase without an increase in power needed. And last year, we announced an upgrade to our all-flash array, the Infinibox SSA model F4316P, where we doubled the capacity in the same data center footprint with 50% less power per effective petabyte or terabyte, as the slide says, reducing rack space, floor tile, power, and cooling costs on a per petabyte basis. Next slide, please. So how do we compare to others in the industry? Well, Infinibox's energy efficiency is pretty impressive when compared to our leading enterprise class storage competitor, Dell EMC, and their PowerMax product. In this particular instance, we put ourselves up against the PowerMax 2500, the 8500, and the 8,000. By the way, all the data in this chart is based on publicly available environmental information on their data sheets and in our data sheets. So we took their advertised peak watts and their raw usable terabytes, calculated the watts per terabyte usable, and came up with a power efficient coefficient. As you can see, we are 1.7 to 2.7 times more power efficient on a watts per terabyte used basis than our leading competitor in the enterprise storage marketplace. Next slide, please. So how do we equate power efficiency into OPEX annually? Well, let's take a look at the power data from the last slide. Remember, we just did the watts per terabyte, and put it into our handy little calculator on our website so you can look at this configuration in more detail. In this case, it was an InfiniBox 4300, and we're comparing it to a PowerMax 2500 in this configuration. We looked at the number of floor tiles consumed in a data center, which are the same for both, and put together a 2 petabyte configuration for both, and the annual energy consumption in kilowatt hours for power and cooling based on the watts per terabyte calculations in our previous slide. In this calculator, you can put in your actual electricity costs. If you'll notice down on the bottom there, your electricity costs. So you can go to this particular little calculator on our website and put yours in and run the actual spreadsheet if you like. And it'll auto-calculate the annual energy savings to your OPEX. In this example, we use an electricity cost of 15 cents per kilowatt hour. The annual the annual energy savings is over $27,000 with the InfiniBox. And we've noted that it's 66% more power efficient. So in summary, less watts per terabytes equals less kilowatt hours of power and cooling required to run the same capacity configuration. Pretty effective, pretty amazing. Next slide, please. Remember, we said green IT is reduced OPEX and reduced greenhouse gas. For those organizations or enterprises that have goals that their company wants to meet in sustainability and carbon footprint, Infinidat can lower those carbon emissions by reducing the energy consumption to run their storage arrays. So in this example, we save roughly 174,000 kilowatt hours per year, which reduces greenhouse gases in a number of ways dramatically. This is equal to 123 tons of CO2 that we avoided putting into the atmosphere. We also avoided the greenhouse gas produced by over 316,000 miles driven by gas cars, and or avoided the greenhouse gas produced by the electricity in 24 homes in a year. So in summary, our arrays are operating at reduced energy consumption compared to the competition, and we're able to show how we reduce greenhouse gases overall and carbon footprint. Next slide, please, Eric. I want to introduce you to the Infinidat E-squared factor, which we believe is pretty unique. Customers that invest in Infinidat storage enjoy the E-squared factor of strong economic value, there's the first E, as well as strong environmental value, there's the second E, giving you the E-squared factor. Well, let me tell you how this works. Strong economic value has been explained in the IDC white paper that is linked to our website. But the highlights of that story are 162% ROI, a 48% reduction in OPEX, which is huge in this financial climate. And the one that I like, and that I'm sure your CFO will love, is the 11-month payback. Any payback under a year is amazing for any investment nowadays. As we've shown in previous slides, The economic value of Infinidat, along with our philosophy to create sustainable storage arrays, equates to 1.7 to 2.7 times better watts per terabyte and 66% better power efficiency over our enterprise class competitors. But how do customers receive environmental value? Well, they do that by consolidating a number of arrays into Infinidat. Sometimes what happens is IT operations purchase arrays to support one or two workloads and start to experience storage sprawl after a few years using this strategy. Our unique software-defined storage architecture called InfuseOS, along with our neural cache, supports diverse modern workloads across on-premises and cloud environments, enabling our customers to consolidate 5, 10, or even 20 arrays into one InfiniBox, saving on power, cooling, floor space, and creating a greener IT environment, making substantial reductions in electricity consumption and greenhouse gas emissions. And then what you need to do is recycle those 5, 10, or 20 arrays. That's an incredible cost too. Once that's done though, and you're over to an Infinidat at the end of the life cycle of your Infinidat rack, you just need to recycle one array, dramatically reducing electricity and gas emissions. Next slide, please. So how does this equate to customers and end users in a real life situation? So this is the example that I promised that I would point out to you. This was a Fortune 200 financial services company that replaced over 100 competitors' medium and enterprise arrays with 38 InfiniBox and 6 InfiniBox SSAs. As you can see, they went from 142 racks down to 44, a dramatic 69% reduction in the number of racks. They took the floor tiles down from 170 to 88, showing a 52% reduction. And their total power in megawatts, very impressive, 22% reduction. Incredible stuff. That's just one of many customers, and Eric mentioned one prior also, that have reduced the energy consumption and associated OPEX to create a greener data center. Next slide, please, Eric. But what do the storage analysts have to say about all this? Well, an IDC research VP says that we significantly lowered TCO with our workload consolidation at scale over traditional practice of using the multiple storage silos or the storage sprawl that I talked about. With Infinidat being able to support multiple diverse workloads on a single array because of our technology, that becomes key in lowering TCO, which in my mind, in turn, lowers OPEX, lowers power consumption, and lowers greenhouse gases overall. Another analyst at GigaOM also pointed to our ability to consolidate a wide range of workloads into a single system with our AI-based architecture. That's the neural cache part that I mentioned earlier, and deliver a consistent performance experience for the customer. Next slide, please. You've heard from the analysts, but what about the customers? What do they have to say? A large insurance company claimed they enjoyed a 60% TCO reduction, dramatic management simplicity, and they loved our 100% availability and performance SLA-based guarantees. A technology company said they reduced their rack space 4 to 1, reduced OPEX, and now have less to recycle. And lastly, a leading fintech company stated they reduced data center floor space by 80%, and TCO savings led to 70% cost reduction. That's huge in anybody's book. Next slide, please, Brad. Prompting another customer to say the definitive statement in my mind, storage at its best is only achieved with Infinidat. Now back to you, Eric. Thank you.
Well, Tim, that was incredible. Economic value, environmental value, making it easy for the customer. TCO and ROI, dramatic improvements, reducing greenhouse gases, saving on power and cooling, all of which translates into E squared, economic value and environmental value. But Timmy and I both work here. Don't believe us. We're employees. How about believing other end users such as yourselves? The Gartner Peer Insights is not reviews by Gartner analysts, but our end user reviews, which Gartner vets. They make sure that Tim and I aren't writing the reviews, that they come from legitimate end users. We have across our portfolio close to 500 on a scale of 5, a 4.9, a 4.9, and a 4.8. And this has led to us for 6 years being the Gartner Peer Insights customer's choice. 2 years in North America, 4 years globally. Can't do any better than that. No wonder one of the large global enterprise customers noted Infinidat is the golden standard for enterprise storage. But we're not going to stop there. We're a small company. We're on the edge of innovation. You saw all the innovation with the larger Infinibox, the Infinibox SSA. We'd like to thank you very much for coming today. And now, Bill, you had some questions come in. So why don't you walk through the questions and let us know what the end users were curious about?
Sure. Thank you. And thanks to everybody for joining us today. A couple of quick questions came in. Somebody asked how they can get their copy of the ESG report. That's very easy. We just ask that you reach out to your Infinidat representative or your reseller partner, and they can get a copy of the ESG report for your review. And we're always available to help explain or answer any questions that you may have in regards to our inaugural ESG report. There's another question around the OPEX calculator. Tim showed a snapshot of that on one of his slides. That is accessible from our website directly. Anybody can get it and plug in some numbers there. And if you go to our website, you look under the area of financial benefits, you'll see a link that will take you directly to the financial calculator. I think the last piece that's probably worth talking about, Tim and Eric, would be the IDC report. There was a question on what methodology or if we had any insights on how ESG determines an 11-month ROI. And I'll start it off a little bit because I think it's interesting. They actually have a very strict set of KPIs that they look at and data that they interview existing customers with. And ask them a series of questions and gather a specific set of data to help determine, those kinds of outcomes. Tim, anything to add, or Eric, anything to add to that?
Well, they then take that and run it through a financial analysis. So while they have someone who asks questions, one of the member of the team at IDC is a financial analyst. These, as Bill noted, are based on real interviews of real enterprise customers. There was 7 in North America and 3 in Europe. So he looked at those customers that have the Infinibox technology installed and how there are a number of different benefits. In fact, there is not only the IDC research report, but there also is a webinar with myself and the vice president from IDC who spearheaded that, which is also available on our website as well. So you can listen to him talk about how they did the analysis, what are the questions they asked. And of course, there is a lengthy white paper that walks through all of the process of what they do and how they did it. And again, this is not based on numbers from Infinidat. This is based on numbers from existing customers. Again, 7 in North America, 3 in Europe. So 10 large enterprise customers that they interviewed to gather the financial metrics that they then revealed in that written report.
No, that's correct, Eric. And what they do is they create a model, and this model is pretty well known in the research analyst industry. It's a mature model that they created, and they've used it, many, many years. And it's pretty well. Some of it's trade secret, obviously, but if you download the white paper, they get into how they built the model and the surveying they did and things like that. So you'll get an inkling about it if you download it.
If you'd like to see our webinars on how we support the container environment from last month, the webinar before that 2 months ago was on cyber storage resilience and recovery about InfiniSafe and InfiniSafe cyber detection. Again, they have won 18 awards since the beginning of 2022, all focused on cyber storage resilience and cyber storage recovery. So they're all at infinidat.com on our resource section, and you will see tons of various recordings of our various webinars, which we do one a month. Again, thank you very much for coming. We really appreciate you spending time with us. And again, thank you very much for joining Infinidat, www.infinidat.com.
Well, there you have it, another solution in our spotlight. We want to thank Eric Herzog and the team at Infinidat for that presentation, and we appreciate your attendance as well. Until next time, I'm Doug Atkinson here at Solutions Review. Thanks for watching.
If your business would like to be featured in a future event, contact us today.